Okay, what we saw here was a very interesting wage subsidy program because of several reasons. The one is that they convert temporary contracts into permanent contracts. And I think this is an interesting thing because it has also cultural context. The permanent jobs have a high value, especially in Spain. And it's interesting because they differentiate between the different companies, between the different sizes of the companies. For instance, self-employed and very small companies get a higher subsidy than the medium-sized companies. And another differentiation they make is, or another distinction, that they differentiate between the age groups. So young people and the older people get higher subsidized than the middle-aged people, let's say. So that are interesting variations of this subsidy program.
The task behind our working group was find out what kind of networks is behind the practice. This time we found out some networks in the different levels.
Okay, we tried to describe and to analyze what is the task of each level. We have the national level, we have the regional level, and we have the local level. So that's the vertical situation. And these four programs we learned about, they are a result of the tripartite partnership on the national level. So the national level is responsible for the legislation and also for implementing such programs. But the regional level is the one who implements then directly the programs. That means who gives the wage subsidy to the companies. And also on this level we have a tripartite partnership. So we don't see really networks on these two levels as far as we get known it yesterday. What we saw here are institutionalized partnerships with the social partners and the ministry. Whereas on local level, the direct work with the unemployed is done, and here we have more informal partnerships between private companies and the public sector.
In the local level there seems to be active municipality, and there's much of a cooperation in practical level with firms, and they are doing counseling in there and training measures as well. It seems to be that in local level and in practical level, the need of networking is bigger than in higher policy level. There is a narrower networking structure, but in the grassroots level, there is a much more complex network structure than we expected. There is an official steering body organization, but the local development agencies are running most of the activities in that level, and it's sort of center point for that kind of networking.
Well, in this workshop in Santander, we have really approached the question, and we have come closer to finding answers to the question what exactly the relationship between a network and a specific approach is, and what exactly shapes the relationship between these two variables. And we've come up with three hypotheses. So the first element of this relationship is ownership. Ownership means that the more responsibilities the partners have, the more they have to collaborate. By means of a contrast, if you have a top-down relationship, that is the upper level telling the lower level what to do, then the lower level, the partners on the lower level, do not have to collaborate, not necessarily because they're being told what to do. But as soon as they're responsible for the results, as soon as they have to take decisions, then they have to talk to each other. That means the more ownership is in the network of the specific approach, the more these partners have to collaborate, and the stronger the network has to be. The second point is the complexity of the service that the specific approach wants to offer to the target group. The more complex the service is, that is, the more you want to offer. For example, wage subsidies, plus counseling work, plus healthcare provision, and all these kind of things, the more you want to offer, the more partners you need, and the denser the network has to be, the more the partners again have to collaborate. So the shape of the approach shapes again the network. There's a relationship between these two. And thirdly, the tradition of using networks in a city, in a region, or in a country most certainly shapes the networks today, and that again means that the approaches that can be implemented not only depend on the present networks, but also on past networks. Summing things up, what we see from these three hypotheses is that it is never an either-or, either a good approach or a good network. It always goes together. So it's not exactly the question about the balance between these two, but on the relationship, because a good network allows a good approach and complex approach to be implemented, and a complex approach necessitates a complex and dense and trustful network to be in place.
So the surprising thing was that the regional level and the national level, they are in charge of the employment policies. That's clear. But we saw that the local level, who has no competencies in employment policies, that they are very active. That means they counsel the long-term unemployed and also our target group. They organize workshops and they have very good relations to the enterprises in Santander, for instance to Telefonica, but also to medium-sized enterprises.